Hello and welcome to the University of Louisville. Today we're going to be teaching you guys all about what it takes to be a positive mentor and what it kind of looks like for being involved with junior or senior student athletes as well. So my name is Mallory Perry and with me I have Pat Maloney. We do have a third partner, however, he is not able to be with us today, but we're giving some love to Brad Sack out there today.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But I want you all to start off with getting in a circle. And I have a beach ball, my imaginary beach ball. I have a beach ball, and on this beach ball there's a series of questions. And so when I throw it to you, whatever question your thumb lands on, that's the question that I want you to answer. And these questions are going to be what makes for a good mentor, what makes for a bad mentor, why did you come to Louisville, just kind of some fun questions. We're going to do a little icebreaker just to get involved, learn who you are. We'll also be involved as well, so look forward to that.
Yay.
So now I want you guys to get in a circle and let's begin. I'm gonna pause for a second. This is where they'll do their thing.
Throwing the imaginary beach ball around.
Beach ball. Okay, and so to kind of wrap up that quick little icebreaker, it just was supposed to be a fun way to get the students to kind of know each other because they are freshman student athletes and there's going to be a lot of them, as well as kind of getting their mind right for what we're going to be talking about later on. Okay? And so now I'm going to give it on over to Pat, where he is going to be talking about our agenda for the day and what you can expect.
Thank you, Mallory. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the objectives of our mentoring program. The basic objective of our program is to set up our first-year college athletes with the highest chance for success when they enter the college atmosphere, the college environment. Our first-year student athletes will gain tremendous resources from this program, but no resources will be more important than a mentor who will be there to guide them and aid them through their time in school and to prepare them for life after college. Our student athletes will come into this program not fully understanding that they're in a completely new and completely different environment from the high school setup. They will come out of our program with the understanding of what college is, of the environment, and they will come out more equipped to handle the pressures of being not just a first-year student athlete, but being a first-year student and staying on top of their studies.
Yeah, so Pat, what is a mentor? I have no idea what a mentor is.
It's a great question, Mallory. By definition, a mentor is a person or a friend who guides a less experienced individual by building and modeling positive behaviors for them. An effective mentor is a person who will understand that his or her role is to be dependable, to be engaged, and to be authentic, and be tuned in to the needs of your mentoree.
Cool, so now I want you guys to take a second after we've gotten the wonderful definition from Pat, and I want you to get out a sheet of paper, use your phone, use your computer, whatever you have accessible to you, and kind of write down some just quick buzzwords of what makes for a good mentor on the left side of the page and what makes for a bad mentor on the right side of the page. So take a quick minute and write down a few of those buzzwords.
Oh, you're a good mentor, I'm a bad mentor.
I mean, good, bad, good.
How it always works.
Yeah. Okay, so after that quick reflection, we're just going to ask for a little bit of feedback from the students. What were some of the good words that they had and what were some of the bad words that they had? But now Pat is going to kind of go more in depth on what makes for a good and bad mentor.
We're going to walk you through, as Mallory said, the qualities of what makes for a good and bad mentor, and to see maybe what terms we have that align with what terms you all had on your sheets. So we're going to begin with the qualities that you might look for in a good mentor. In a good mentor, you want someone who has a sincere desire to work with student athletes. This is a time-consuming job. It's a very important job. It's a serious job. You need someone that is engaged in the lives of their students. You want someone who is sensitive, who is flexible and open, who is willing to look for solutions and opportunities. This is a time of discussion. This is a time where we're going to meet. You're going to meet with your student athlete, and you're going to learn a lot about who they are and what they're going through. You need to be open to different ways to help them in their journey. You also want to be respectful of student athletes and their needs, and most importantly, maybe you want to be a good and active listener. Now, there are also some characteristics of bad mentors and some things that you're going to look for maybe you want to stay away from in a mentor environment. A bad mentor will always seem to be rushed. They may not have enough time. They have other things to do. They don't have the time to dedicate to your specific needs. They don't always listen well. They might interrupt. They might give you their opinion as opposed to listening to what you might have to say. A bad mentor will have a negative view of life, maybe a negative view of people, or just a negative stance on general things. A bad mentor will be rude, will be short with most people. In a mentor, you want someone that's going to be friendly, engaged, active. You don't want someone that doesn't gives off the vibe they don't want to be here. A bad mentor won't be well prepared for sessions and will have trouble explaining concepts They won't be as involved, won't be as engaged, someone that clearly doesn't have the time or did not put the time into this environment. And a bad mentor is someone that will spend a lot of time talking too much about themselves. You want to be learning from your mentoree. You want to be talking to them and learning about their lives, letting them do the talking. It's not a time for you to explain about you.
Okay, cool. So now that we kind of talked about what makes for a good mentor and what makes for a bad mentor, now we're going to kind of talk about a few of the steps that it might take to become a mentor, because the whole point of this program is, yes, we are combining freshman student athletes with senior or junior student athletes. Ultimately, we would hopefully have our freshman athletes be mentors themselves in the future. So what does that look like? Well, ultimately, in order to become a mentor, you have to have the proper background. No average Joe can come in here and be a mentor. You need to know that this is a very sensitive group. You might be dealing with some confidential information, and they are very, I guess, just sensitive to some of the things that you are feeding to them. So you need to make sure that you have a history of first being a mentee to becoming a mentor. And so through that, you can learn various ways to how to be a mentor. We talked about what makes for a good one, and so kind of combining all of these variety of skills is ultimately what's going to help you as you become a junior or senior yourself. So in order to become a mentor, you have to ask yourself several questions, including what do you expect and what are your goals for the individuals that you will be mentoring. So obviously each individual is very different. You can't treat one student the same as you're going to treat another student, because we all have various different backgrounds, experiences, what have you. So what is the ultimate goal that you want to have, be able to provide for this freshman student athlete? So be able to assess their skills and experiences. Kind of like I said earlier, they're coming in with a variety of different things that none of us have the experiences of. So in being able to assess, what are they good at? What are they kind of struggling with and need some more help? What threats are coming against them? Like, what does their schedule look like for their respective sport? You need to be able to, are you ready and willing to set boundaries? These student athletes might be heavily dependent on you, and so being able to kind of draw that fine line in between, what does that look like, and being able to be assertive yet still comforting in that kind of atmosphere. And last but not least, why do you want to become a mentor? Because with anything else, if you don't have the proper mindset, if you're not going into it with kind of the proper, I guess, frame of mind, what I just said, then you're not going to be able to get out of it what you have been able to put into it as a mentee. And so kind of after the steps, now we're going to spend the rest of our time going on the importance of this meeting and why we feel like a mentoring program is so important on the college campus.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about where freshman students struggle when they come onto a college campus for the first time. One of the big things for freshman students is expectations. You've heard about college for years, you've heard about how college is different than high school, and now you're here. Now you're going to have to deal with that environment and deal and handle with those expectations. One of the most important things is time management for a freshman student. There's going to be a lot of opportunities you have. You're going to make new friends, you're going to have new freedoms, you're going to join a lot of clubs and organizations. There's a lot to do. But it's important that you find ways to manage your time so that you're giving your time to the important things, that you're having a social life, that you're out and experiencing new things and trying new things. And at the same time, you're giving the proper time to academics, you're staying on top of your grades, you're staying on top of your work in the classroom. When we mention classroom, we talk about schoolwork. Your schoolwork is obviously going to be different than it was in high school. This is a step up. We mentioned expectations. It's going to be a step up in work, a step up in quality that's expected of you. This isn't something you can handle or you want to handle on your own. This is something that we want to provide resources for you, but we need you to understand freshman students do struggle with the quality of work expected of them from time to time. And a very important element for freshman students is organizations. A lot of students come out of high school unorganized. I was that way. You don't need to put a lot of organization to stay on top of what's expected of you in high school. You have parents and teachers and coaches doing that for you. In college, you're on your own. You're expected to stay on top of your obligations. So it's very important to be organized. You know, whether that's taking notes in different notebooks or however you want to do it, it's important to stay organized so that you can stay on top of what you want to do and, most importantly, what you have to do. Now, freshman students obviously have some areas where they will struggle. Freshman student athletes are faced with different challenges as well. Time management for student athletes is a step up from just your average freshman, because you not only have to balance your social life, your academic life, but your athletic life as well, whether that's practices, games, whether you're missing class or work due to travel, you have to be able to stay on top of those things. Something that's been mentioned is the hero complex that comes with athletes is that there's a quiet confidence of athletes that when you step on your athletic field, it's something you're very good at, something you're used to doing, something you're prepared to do, and even have the mindset that if something breaks down, I'll do this on my own, I'll take care of it. College doesn't work that way. The idea, the mindset of I can handle this isn't going to necessarily get you a great grade on a term paper. You have resources available to you, and we encourage you to use them, to be involved, be active in your resources, because we are here to help you stay on top of what you want to do. And lack of organization for a freshman student athlete is significantly important because, like we mentioned, you have to stay on top of different challenges that are not presented to the average freshman student. You have to balance academics and athletics as well as your extracurricular activities. So being organized is more important for a freshman student athlete because you have more on your plate that you have to juggle.
Okay, so now we do like doing our little reflection activities. So now I want you to take just 2 minutes to reflect on someone who has acted as a mentor in your life. And a few kind of questions to get you started is, in what ways did this person support you? How did they help you get to where you are today? And last but not least, how can you translate what they taught you into our mentorship program? So take 2 minutes, kind of write down how has that mentor been able to act in your life so far.
Yeah, we need the Jeopardy.
Jeopardy music. Cue Jeopardy music.
I stepped out of the shot like 4 times.
Okay, so then we're going to bring our student athletes back in, kind of hopefully get some feedback on who has been a mentor in their life, maybe not disclosing anything, but some of the key things. The one question is, how can they translate what their mentor taught them into this mentorship program? And to kind of feed off of that, now we're going to introduce our mentorship program, kind of trying to wrap up everything together. So our mentorship program is designed to assist freshmen student athletes in their transition to college life, because within our program we want to work with our student athletes to make sure that they are properly adjusting, just like Pat said, with organization, time management, all that things, to the collegiate academic environment. So the ultimate goal of this mentorship program is to encourage interaction between our student athletes and faculty, which Pat will kind of touch on how this ties into a principle later on. And so with this goal, by increasing interaction with the faculty, this will help student athletes understand not only what is expected of them in the classroom, but be able to have this prompt feedback from faculty members that allows for an active learning environment. But that is also something that Pat is going to be touching on just here shortly.
All right, so we're giving you a lot of terms, a lot of information up here, but just so we're clear, this isn't unfounded. These aren't things that we're just throwing at you to do. Our research comes mainly from the 7 undergraduate principles of good practice, but for the purpose of this mentor program, we're really focusing on 2 of those specific principles. Those principles being cooperative learning among students and an active learning environment. What we want to stress is the importance and value of being active and leading involved lives, as well as the obvious need to be good students and good role models. So we just talked to you about some of the theoretical frameworks of our program. Now we're going to get into the benefits and what you can get and what we hope to give to our student athletes from our program. Some benefits of our mentoring program as a whole. The idea is to ease our freshmen's transition from high school to college, to help them prepare for what they're going to see their first couple of months on campus. We want our mentors to serve as an easily accessible resource and role models. We want to provide a comfortable, friendly atmosphere. We want nothing to be off limits. We want our students to be comfortable to come in and sit down and just talk to us about what they're going through, what they're experiencing, and what we can do to help them out. We want to help them to meet their peers, to introduce them to their classmates, make new friendships, build new relationships. And we want to also create instant upperclassmen friends. So they have someone that's not a member of the faculty, one of their peers that's a couple years older that's been through what they've been through, seen what they're seeing, someone that they can trust to go talk to without necessarily feeling like they have to come talk to a faculty member. So in this situation, both our underclassmen and our upperclassmen are going to benefit tremendously. And then there's going to be some benefits all around from this program for our athletic department. We're going to create lasting friendships while we help our freshmen adjust to social and learning environments of their new college environment. Upperclassmen have the opportunity to build trusting relationships with their fellow classmates, with the younger students. So just a great relationship building tool for underclassmen and upperclassmen. And it will help our upperclassmen develop their leadership skills as they move on from college into the workforce, into wherever they're going to take their careers. And we're going to give our upperclassmen the opportunity to have a lasting impact on the freshmen's lives. And hopefully this will be something that carries over the years we do it, that when you move up to be an upperclassman, you want to have the same impact that someone had on you, and we want to pass that positive impact down through hopefully generations of student athletes. And with that, Mal is going to talk to you about why we're going to have a mentoring program.
Yeah, so we've talked everything about what makes for a good mentor, what does a bad one look like, where is this stuff even coming from. So now I'm going to walk through, there's a handout that we have on creating a successful peer mentoring program. And so running through this, I'm going to kind of try to wrap up everything, some of the expectations that we would have for our mentees and for our mentors, what it looks like in the future, and then we'll kind of allow for some questions at the end. So why do we need to have a mentoring program on a college campus? So with poor retention rates of college students for over the last few decades have demonstrated the need for successful mentoring of new college students. Student retention is one of the biggest reasons for us wanting to create this peer mentoring program, and peer mentors will be able to assist new students with connecting to campus, developing good study skills, and transitioning into college, all of which are key retention issues. So students are also more likely to adopt effective study strategies from a peer, because a lot of times they'll come in not really knowing how to study or how to study properly. And so by meeting with an upperclassman about once every week for like an hour or something like that, they can say, hey, this has really worked for me, or hey, this wasn't as effective as I would have liked to hope. And so not only can this peer mentoring program help with student retention, it can also be used as a great marketing tool to recruit these new students and to gain additional support from alumni, because with this program we want to have everybody involved. We want there to be, like Pat said, there's benefits for everybody who's involved. So having a peer mentoring program in place for incoming students can also help an institution to demonstrate its commitments to the parents and to its community, kind of showing how this can be a great marketing tool as parents are kind of a little weary on where they're sending their babies off to. And so the last thing of why there needs to be a mentoring program is because that financial cost of beginning a peer mentoring program tends to be relatively low when compared to funding other student programs. The only funding that you would need is if you were to offer some type of training or compensation to your mentors. I know here at the U of L we have a tutoring program for our student athletes, and those tutors are actually getting paid. And so the only cost that you would have to do is if you were to pay your mentors for offering such a service as this, kind of like the day-to-day cost of running the program, however, itself. So even though there might be a few expenses, just like Pat said, with the benefits that are offered of our mentorship program, of the benefits for upperclassmen, for alumni, for parents, I feel like the benefits of this program will definitely outweigh the expenses. I'm sure you can attest to that. And so this is why we need to have a mentoring program. But what do the expectations look like? Because with anything, if you don't have an expectation, if you don't have that set goal in the end, you're not going to get anywhere. So individual mentor responsibilities, they need to be able to offer relevant experience and learning skills. They need to employ good interpersonal communication, because it's going to be a lot of one-on-one. It's going to be very intimate talking with them. They need to have that desire to want to be able to help these students, so they'll be able to develop them into kind of those student leaders later on. They need to be able, I know Pat talked about a lot of these, but to have an open mind and flexibility to kind of work with them, because it is, like he said again, it's going to be a very kind of sensitive time as they're trying to go from high school into college. They need to be able to be dedicated and willing to develop these relationships, because if they're not wanting to be there, then it's just going to be very hostile and not very welcoming and warming. And last but not least, for the mentor, they need to be able to follow through on the important task, because nothing, like we said with the principles of good practices for undergraduates, providing prompt feedback is so key and so vital to this program. And so being able to seek feedback on the effectiveness of this program is only going to help us kind of progress into the future, as Pat will touch on here in just a little bit. For our expectations for freshmen, so for the new students, the mentees, they need to be participating actively in their own learning and development. Even though, say, Pat is my mentor, Pat might be giving me a lot of juicy information about how to study. If I'm not actually putting that into practice, then I won't be able to learn from that. I need to be able to seek out other resources than just relying heavily on him to tell me everything about the world and of this college campus. If I don't have trust and confidence in what he is saying, then that is just going to be it's not going to be very good kind of communications between us, and so we're not going to get anything out of it. As well as recognizing that learning can involve taking risks. We are trying to be able to balance our student athlete life with our athlete life, but we might have to make a few sacrifices of staying up those extra 30 minutes to get done with that paper or whatever it might be. And last but not least, for our new students, they also need to be able to be comfortable enough with providing their own feedback on what they feel like how the program is going. So we can only be able to enhance it every single year, because this is a program that we want to see lasting for who knows how long, but something that we definitely want to kind of keep around. And then just kind of to touch on a few expectations for the actual faculty itself. The faculty needs to be able to understand the program itself, so the rewards, the time required, what it might take to involve everybody. They need to be successful in being a good role model for the mentors and the mentees, because the mentors are still learning from the faculty themselves. And last but not least, one more thing that the administrators need to focus on is just being able to identify the contact information as they're trying to talk to everybody, get everybody involved, to identify those responsibilities, the roles, and the processes within our program. So now, kind of talking about our program and what it looks like in the future, I'm going to pass it back on over to Pat.
So as Mal has explained, we have some great ideas and a great foundation for this program that we want to build, but this is some uncharted territory for us, building from the ground up. That being said, we have a vision, we have an idea of what we want our mentor program to look like at its best, when it's running at its best efficiency, when we really know what we're doing and we can provide the best assistance to our student athletes. So with that in mind, when our program is running at its highest level, our mentorship program will teach our freshman student athletes a variety of skills designed to help them grow through their freshman year. We'll strengthen their time management skills, making sure they can stay on top of their academic work. We will, through interaction with faculty and peers, we want to provide our students with an academically diverse environment, encouraging all of our students to learn through different perspectives. Not everyone sees the world the same way you do, and you can learn a lot from other people that have seen things from a different perspective than you have. Each of our student athletes is a uniquely talented individual. Therefore, it is our goal to find out which approaches best work for them. Our mentors will help student athletes discover talents and interests and help them define and attain their goals.
And so last but not least, we kind of want to wrap up everything that we talked about to you today. So don't forget, we went over our objectives at the very beginning of how we're going to be able to teach these freshman student athletes a variety of skills. We've talked about the definition of a mentor, what makes for a good one, what makes for a bad one, where do freshman students struggle and where do freshman student athletes struggle, and kind of some key ways to overcome those strategies. We talked about the frameworks of how we're trying to make this an active learning experience for every single student athlete. And we kind of talked about the expectations for new students, for the mentors, and for the faculty and administrators. So to kind of wrap up everything, if I could leave you with any one little nugget, the goal of this mentorship program is to guide them through this complicated period while they adjust and discover who they are, not only on the field, but in the classroom as well. And so for this time, I'd like to thank you all for coming to this orientation, but do you guys have any questions for us about what it looks like, what to expect, or just anything of the sort? If you have any questions, now is the time to say it. And with that, we are done. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well played.
Yes.
You see all this worry on my face.
Stop it. Okay, no, you're good?
I think I am.
All right.
Good enough.
Section 2.
Yay. Just start right in.
Whenever he says go.